Think. Something. We're something. Give it a minute, I suppose. Oh God, I'm already yawning. Welcome to the chat room. We get no advertisements today. Chuck's stuck in his car. Chuck isn't stuck in his car. Chuck is in his car and stuck in traffic. So, I suppose there's a huge difference between the two. Alright, good deal. Well, hopefully we have sound and video. Tam, you out there? I will assume that we are. We are here for Ask Me Anything. Going old school. Good. Good deal. Everything's working. We've been ambling into Gaxmore. Just changing the title. Oh, yeah. We've really done 58 of these things? Have we really done 58 of these things? How's it going, Commander? That's crazy. That's a lot of hours under the belt. Twitch should be nice to us for something. I've taken to where I'm just saying indeed to people when they text me something I don't know how to respond. I just say indeed. I don't know. I don't know what it means. I have no idea. Indeed. Indeed. I don't know. Anyways, how's it going, Kadora? Yeah, I have no idea, man. I wouldn't have thought it. I'd have thought this was like our third one or something. I can't keep track of dates, time, or anything else. We could string it all together into one long 58-hour stream of consciousness gab fest by the Troll Lord. Whoever can... time has no meaning in 2020. Sadly, that's kind of true. This year's been interesting, and even for myself. How's it going, Retro? I'm a bit of an optimist. I rarely look on the dark side, but even I'm beginning to think that 2020's it's a year. It's a year for the books. How's it going, Epi? Thank you for the subscription. Very cool. Very, very much appreciated. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's something. And it's not even just the COVID stuff. It just seems to be all kinds of things going all over the place. Of course, part of it sucks no other way around. Part of it is that I think that trends that have been developing for the past decade are now being accelerated tremendously. I mean, I just read this morning, I don't know if this is accurate, it was some comment on a news site that movie, so I don't know if you heard, but Disney, I guess, acquired Firefly, Serenity, whatever the hell that property's called, I think it's Firefly, but they are talking about revamping it and doing it again, making it a little bit more family friendly. But anyways, the article that I read was actually talking about Disney has abandoned the movie theater. They're going to shift all of their focus to streams. Now, if Disney pulls out of the movies, I think that's Pixar too, or somebody, I don't know, somebody. That's going to be a lot of revenue dried up for the movie theaters. So we may be seeing a 100-year-old entertainment venue go by way of the circus. The movie theater may be a thing of the past. You know, the drive-in went away. The circus is all but gone away. Now the movie theater may be gone for good, which will not make Todd Gray very happy because he loves the movie theater. He does. I enjoy it, but Todd loves it. But it's very interesting. It's interesting to see what's happening. And I think COVID has turned into an accelerant for all of these things. There's multiple sides of our society, both in Western Europe and in the United States, Canada, and Central America, and even South America, that it's going to start changing into new forms. You know, more digital, more home at work, which is going to cause a rippling effect through the commercial real estate as offices get closed down. I think New York's going to take a hammering as major businesses are finding that they can conduct a business from different places. I read that, is it Deutsche Bank? One of the big German banks is moving out of New York and moving to Florida, moving all of their headquarters to Florida, which is gigantic. I mean, this is, I think that we are living through a part of society that, you know, time in society that is easily compared to I don't know, their Senate's acquiescence to the rise of Augustus and stuff like this, where things just radically changed. The steam engine did it, of course. It just electricity radically changed. People don't realize it, but appliances radically changed the way society developed. I mean, with the creation of the refrigerator and the washing machine, everything suddenly changed. Very, very much so. So I think we are literally living through that, and it's shocking us to our core. But there you go. Well, apparently the UN says that 2021 is going to be a humanitarian catastrophe. So yeah, 2021 may be worse. Food shortages, transportation shortages, and we'll see if that actually happens. We're all old enough, Commander, to have heard this a dozen times, and the United Nations is always hooting and hollering. Food production, I don't think, has suffered hardly at all. Transportation may. Now, I know in China, the floods there have actually impacted food production there, and that's caused the price of soy and pork over here to skyrocket. So there's going to be pressures, but I think the food stuff will actually be managed. They own a lot of stuff. Firefly was part of Fox, and they bought Pixar years ago. Okay, so they definitely own that whole shebang. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I didn't like what I read. They were going to cut out Anara, what's her name? The prostitute. I love that character. She doesn't need to be cut from the show. Yeah, Mr. Obadiah. Yeah, we immediately got off on whatever weird tangent. Mark, we always will end up back on RPGs somehow. not interested. There you go. There you go, Mark. I do not blame you. I think we'll switch to RPGs talk shortly. Yeah, we always do. Yeah, I don't even think anyone asked, Sam. I just got off on a rambling topic, like I frequently do. Whatever is floating around in my brain pan. I don't even know why that was. I love the word accelerant, and I just want to be able to use it a lot. So this is the only time in my life that I've been able to use the word accelerant. So I want to use it. Last thing I can't remember about this cardstock switch for the Gaxmore maps. What happened? Okay, so we put on. For those of you who don't know, we put on an update on the 5th edition version of the Lost City of Gaxmore today, in which the map books have got a little bit of an issue with them. We began printing them. And I did the test ones yesterday, and I started writing notes on it, because that's generally speaking what a lot of these stretch rewards are designed for, so that you don't have to muck up your book. You can take these maps that we give you extra or whatever and scribble on. We've used cover stock in the past to give it some strength and durability, but the cover stock is almost impossible to write on. It's really obnoxious. It'll absorb ink some, and then it smears. It's just not good, and it won't even do pencil hardly at all. So we abandoned the cover stock and went with cardstock for the map books. There's two of them, and the Lost City of Gaxmore. But the cover stock, I don't like cardstock either for writing on. You can write on it, but it frequently absorbs ink. Pencil doesn't show well unless you really press hard, and it's you easily indent cover stock. I don't know. I'm not cardstock. I'm not a fan of cardstock for writing on. I never have been. We've done a few products with cardstock. Why I let that get past, I wrote that stuff for the Kickstarter, but why I even wrote it in the first place is beyond me. So when I began poking around, I looked at doing the 60-pound paper, which is 60-pound text is what we usually do for our modules, and you can easily write on that. It's a nice heavy material, so it's not going to tear real easy. It's not like notebook paper. It's like journal paper. It's a nice heavy paper to it. Of course, it's much lighter than cardstock, so it raises a question in my mind. Those people who back the Kickstarter, you back things and you set your stretch reward, or you set your pledge goal based on stretch rewards that are going to give you a certain value of product. And I don't want to detract from something that we said we were going to do, and then we do something that's slightly less, that might be more utilitarian, but it's less durable. It's not going to survive as long. Loose paper is just not going to survive as long as it's all there is to it. So that became quite a question this morning. And then when I began looking at it, I thought, you know what, let's put this out. I talked to Tim about it for quite a while. and he actually suggested us put this out to the backers, see what the backers say. And we sent the update out, and everyone, I think except one person, was very happy with switching to 60 pound, just so that you can write on it, whatever. Still going to be a good solid stuff. Now, while all of that's happening, I called Todd and I said, now Todd Gray is the guy. You don't ever see him. He's on Facebook a little bit, mostly for sports stuff. He does a little writing, co-designed of the Horned Gods Winter with me. And we run stuff by Todd, like classes. He wrote the Pacer for the Adventurers Backpack. He does quite a bit on. He's working on the Of Gods and Monsters right now. So Todd's always here, but Todd's primary role in assisting me in running the company is making sure everything is in stock and deep. So I'll let Todd know we need 2-inch boxes, and then he'll order them. So Todd's got all the reps. He talks to the sales reps at Sigma Supply Company and for Verizon Paper Company, all these places. So I called Todd this morning. I said, hey, we need to put that order for cardstock in, but see what they've got. See if they've got anything else in that vein. And so he talked about 32 phone calls back and forth between he and the rep, and they found a 90-pound text, which will be just like the 60-pound, just heavier, that will definitely go through our machines, and they had on hand. And as it turned out, they couldn't sell it, so it was already discounted, or so it was discounted. So it just worked out brilliantly. So even while everyone was responding on the Kickstarter comment on the update, Todd was kind of solving the problem behind the scenes. And so I guess he got a hold of Dwight Schrute or Jim or Pam, and they solved the problem. So we'll be picking up all that paper tomorrow. I think it's about 30,000 sheets, and bringing it in, and we'll print as we go. The nice thing about having a print shop is we don't have to print this months in advance. We're gonna print it as we pack them. We'll do about 300 or 400 a day. Is what we'll be able to print, and then we'll just be packing them as they roll off. So it's all going to work out nicely. I think I'm very happy with the 90-pound text. The 60-pound text is thin enough that it makes my eyebrows go up, but the 90-pound will be very, very good. It's almost as heavy as cardstock, so it's a win-win-win-win, I think, for everybody involved. Very happy about that. See, I have a CNC related question. Sorry for being all frivolous and all. I have recently been asked about how CNC manages a tax of opportunity for people moving through someone's space. I haven't found any rules to this effect, just wondering if there were any thoughts about it in creating the rules, or whether you manage it some specific way with house rules, or maybe you don't do anything with it at all. What say you? Yeah, Mr. Obadiah, we don't do it at all. The round is, 6 seconds long, is that right? Round is, I think, is it 10 seconds or 6 seconds? I can't remember. So we just assumed that it's not just one blow against one blow, it's multiple blows, you swing. I mean, how many times can you do this in 6 seconds? So it's multiple blows. So if someone passes through, and a move is an action. So if someone passes through your space or what have you, you've already engaged, or you're going to engage in the round. So we really don't do a tax of opportunity. And the reason that we abandoned those is we really wanted combat to be simple. We didn't want it to break down in actions and counteractions. Davis and I come from a long history of war games, and those war games that are a little bit, and it's not as realistic, I get that part, but those war games that are a little bit more forgiving on what happens in a round in a combat sequence, they're just a lot more fun to do. If you have to do action and counteraction, and then a counteraction to the counteraction, so I guess it'd be action, reaction, counteraction. It bogs down. It bogs down a lot, and then you find people looking at rule books a lot, and then things happen that someone's not happy with, so they're pulling out this, and it's just a mess. So we abandoned the tax of opportunity entirely. That said, you probably could weave them into your game if you wanted. I think D20 did that quite a bit, I think. Thicker cards, it's better. So glad that you got sorted. Always good to hear that behind-the-scenes stuff. Yeah, it's an interesting. I tell you, it's a. I don't know. It's interesting. One of the things I need to put on another PSA, but in watching money flow into Troll Lord games and then flow out to suppliers, it's just fascinating to me. From kind of just taking it from a step back and watching how the machinations work, and Troller Games. I've always wondered. I've always looked at businesses and said, "Well, how does that actually work?" But it's cool to watch that it just flow. That just I don't know, and we've become large enough that we're a huge part of a number of suppliers here in Little Rock and in southern Missouri, central Missouri, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of cool knowing that. That you all have, through your generous support of us, actually supported a good 3 or 4 other companies that employ people and let them make their mortgages. The whole big give or take. It just fascinates the living hell out of me. One of these days I'm going to write a big book. Someday. No attacks of opportunity unless leaving comment per the normal rules, but you can use the facing rules to incorporate benefits based on character facing as described there. There you go. Almost got it covered perfectly. 10 seconds in the combat round. Was it 6 seconds in AD&D? Is that what I'm thinking of? I don't know why that is lodged in my head like a nail in a board, but somewhere 6 seconds is in my head, and that's probably AD&D. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's 6 rounds in a minute. That's what it would be, right? Yes, in 1E. Okay, so there you go. And in CNC, it's 10 seconds in a round. And 6 rounds in a minute. And we called a minute. 5E is 6 seconds. Okay, interesting. And then 10 rounds in a minute. I want to use 6-second segments. That's what it was. I had nothing to do with that part of the creation. Clearly, I can't even understand what you guys are saying. What? Segments? I don't know what's going on. That was back in Davis. So... I basically just say roll initiative, and we go. It's occasionally, like casting a spell or maybe using a 2-handed weapon will come into play, but it's pretty rare. So, speaking of 1A, in a side note, in my Tuesday night game that I started running about 2 or 3 months ago with my sons and my nephews, they have plunged into B1. So we have gone into Descent into the Unknown. I actually had them enter into the 2nd level. They are in their first AD&D. We're using Castles and Crusades, of course, but they're in their first AD&D module. As see, Willie the Rats, some of my players will make attacks of opportunity as a planned action. If they're not currently engaged and it is their initiative, they may pass their turn until they have a target or something attacks it. Oh, that's interesting. I'll let people delay action around so that they win initiative the next round. I guess that's sort of an attack of opportunity. But, we really just try to not have rules. That's really one of the big things. If I remember, they also have different round durations for dungeon exploring versus combat, if I remember correctly. That sounds vaguely familiar. Any fun observations from the first time Dungeon Delvers play style? Chad Skiles, I got to tell you, these guys, I don't know, they're all heavy video game players, and they are playing so well. And just to give you an idea, it took them a long time to realize. I mean, the 5 of us have been playing off and on for years, but they've never been that interested. They'll play it, they call me Mr. Cool. So, Mr. Cool has the game, let's play the game. There was a Thanksgiving family game that we did for a while, but for some reason my oldest son, about 3 or 4 months ago, decided he wanted to really get into it. And they had already kind of learned that it's different than a video game. You can do anything that you want. Your imagination is the limit. We've talked about that 1,000 times. But they have dove into it like crazy. I mean, all 4 of them are into the role playing and the problem solving and all this other stuff. But they're doing stuff that I think that I just haven't seen before, and I'm sure it's happened before. But so, for instance, I think I talked about this last week. Pete was in a pool of water, and there was green slime at the bottom of the pool, and it was attacking him. And he had the only torch in the room. The wizard was on the bank. The rogue was on the rock face above Pete's. He's playing an Oathsworn, and the gnome, whatever fighter, was in a tunnel. So there's no chance of light other than the torch. But Pete had a 2-handed weapon, and he couldn't swing. He couldn't defend himself. And so what he did is he threw the torch up on high, thinking he would get 1 melee round of light where he could, as it's falling back down, where he could swing at the green slime. That was his plan, and then he was just going to swing at the -10. And I thought, well, that's cool. I'm in for that. And I gave him two, one up and one down. Just Torch moved a little slow, so he throws it up. He gets a swing. But then as it's coming down, the magic user casts Mage Hand and captures the torch mid-flight and holds it so that the torch stays and Pete manages to kill the green slime in a couple of melee rounds. And they're doing stuff like that constantly. They're really using these spells kind of beyond. And that's when they did that, that seemed such a natural thing to do with Mage Hand. But it was just, it was brilliant. I was just floored by how cool that move was. And they've done a few things like that. Now they learned, I don't know if they've learned yet, but they suffered grievously after that. They got into a fracas with some kobolds, and then they killed the kobolds and split the party. And they're in Descent of the Unknown, so one half of them is over by where in the back left-hand corner of level 1, and the other half is down in that temple area thing. How's it going, last laugh? And the kobolds attacked again, and so they had them completely split. They rolled horribly, and 2 of them went negative before they managed to sound burst and just kill a whole bunch of the kobolds. But yeah, I mean, I think that's it. They aren't locked into standard usages for the standard spells. They're really, I think that's what's so refreshing. That's a great way of putting it. Because for me as a CK, it's crazy refreshing because they're just doing stuff, and it's cool to watch them. I think they're used to, in a video game, you sort through the abilities and what can this piece of equipment do? What can this? So the spellcasters are just pouring through their spells and using them in just really cool ways. What did they do? They cast Aid on a familiar. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that I hadn't thought of or haven't seen, and if I have, I haven't seen it in a million years. Part of it, I think it's new, and I think you're right, Omzad. They're just not locked in. They're just not stuck there with, this is what we're supposed to do with this. This is what we're supposed to do with that. I don't know. It's very cool. And I love that. That's what I love the most about RPGs. I enjoy video games. I really do. But I enjoy RPGs far more because you get that, you just try something. And if you've got a GM who's willing to give a little bit of, leeway in the actions, a lot of fun can happen. A lot of cool stuff. Those heroic moments can actually happen. So it's pretty cool. I know it's pretty wild. They are learning the value of equipment, though. Their equipment's getting destroyed constantly. Last time I ran B1, they touched the crystal and it transported them to the other side of the dungeon, and it took them forever to figure out their map. Now that is one thing that we didn't do. Davis used to, when he would run me through a dungeon, and I did this a little bit, I just didn't run dungeons much. Davis would he would describe it. You got a 20-foot corridor. It tees. It goes into the left and the right and forward in each block, and I'd be over there mapping it out. Well, my maps would be a catastrophe, pretty soon. And I'm not making them do that. I am describing, and then I'm mapping it out for them and passing it back over. And I can't even, I'm tracing it. I'm using the B1, I'm fucking tracing the thing, and I can't even get it right. So it's, I don't know, it's just funny. New players like that really keeps new GMs on their feet, usually for the better. Yeah, I agree, Omo. They really do. They make you think out of the box, and it's just fun to. I wish there's been at least, I don't know, 9 or 10 things that they have done that have just made me go, what? It's just really cool, and they're all younger, of course, and they're fired up, and I love the fact that they're fired up, and it just kind of shows that with a game that you don't have to, and I'm not knocking 5e or anyone else's game, but CNC is very simple, and there's not a lot of rules to it, so you can start playing. There's not a 300-page rule book that you got to read. You just need someone to explain to you how combat in the siege engine works, and you're golden. So, yeah, when I was a kid, we always used to have to draw our own maps as players. That seems to have fun. Yeah, I don't think anyone does that anymore, but because it's really hard. It's very, very, very hard. It does mean you miss out on cool stuff like that, but the loss of administrative map management is worth it. Yeah. Using a battle map with them, I find playing with a battle map breaks my immersion, but I also find the younger folks seem to always want one. So, not yet, Athelstan, but so 3 of them get the descriptions really easy. The 4th, he's not quite into, the whole imagining everything 3D yet. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, I don't know what triggered it. I think I got a little frog miniature. So in the game room out there, there's this cabinet filled with miniatures, and they're just all fucking piled in there. There's not any great order to it, but there's a little frog on the top of it. One of my favorite miniatures is this little frog that Mac Golden painted, and I think Pete asked. I was explaining a battle again. What it was actually something about bodies. That's what brought it up. It was something about bodies. I said no, the bodies are still piled there, and they're going to start causing everyone to suffer minuses in their attacks because there's blood on the ground and entrails and all of that stuff. So they needed more description of that, and that's when the miniatures, why don't we get the miniatures out? I know you got some that's whatever. So it may not have been the frog. I don't know, whatever it was, but suddenly there's miniatures on the table. So now they've got a party out, and we're breaking out miniatures when we do it. We haven't gotten to the battle map yet. But I suspect that's in our near future, as it's just easier. But I'm with you. It breaks the immersion as soon as you have to stop, and it's not as soon as it's every fucking melee round. You have to stop and move things around. Nobody's listening. They're just watching. Now we're watching some kind of 3D entertainment, and we really need to be listening and mapping it out in our head. And I've said 1,000 times, and I know you all, said it as well, that it's not so much what I say. Just as long as you hear something and picture something. If I see it one way and you see it another way, it doesn't matter. As long as you see something in your imagination and they see something in their imagination and the two don't conflict, you don't get really confused as to where somebody is, then it's much, much better. It's much, much, much better. The mind is going to create far more than what you can see on the ground. And then you get hung up into other people's, what they see. But yeah, so I suspect one's going to be creeping. I got rid of my battle map though. We'll have to order one. Let's see. That was part of the game back then, and the players would have to stop mapping if they were running away. Oh yeah, and then you get lost, and then I forgot about that. Yeah, it was a different time then. It was a much more dangerous time in our youth. I always run Theater of the Mind, no battle maps, but I sketched a map for position sometimes. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll grab a piece of paper and just sketch it out, throw it out there. Because I just really don't want too much. I just don't want too much of it. My group still does that. They have an official mapper and use graph paper. That's badass, Bloodwall. That's just cool. As a DM, I ended the players' mapping as it just leads to... It really does. Lots of confusion and redescribing stuff and all that kind of stuff. And then me trying to describe an angle 48 times and I barely can grasp a geometry which in front of me. So it's best that I just trace it out and give it to them. Yell at my players die if they don't have a map because they want to count squares and get into the minutia instead of just attacking and killing the creatures. Yeah. They start that. It's time to bring the pain. Can you use the battle map as a tool to enhance description? Sometimes I can, but my problem with it, when I do it, I have to stop and I map, the court around or the room around or whatever, even because I do mostly outdoor, the road or the rock or whatever. And then once you kind of map that out and you place the players, and it's if you can do it fast, and I generally can, not always, but just move characters around. Where do you move your head one hex? Where do you go? And then have them move them, and then I'll just reach over there. But it does inhibit somewhat your descriptions as when you're describing something, and you stop and move 15 miniatures around on a map. But if you can do it fast, then you should be good. You probably can, Irma. I know you run at least 2 games, so it's one of those things. Okay. So I just got a text from this very group. My oldest son, Pete, he stayed up gaming some new game he bought for about 30 hours, and he fell asleep about 2 hours ago. The game's supposed to happen tonight at 5:30. They just postponed it. Wait, no, they unpostponed it. I don't know what's going on. They're all super fired up, but I'm not sure Pete's going to be awake. At any rate, what does a guy who owns his own TTRPG company have on his Christmas list? What are you asking for this year, Steve? Any gaming stuff? No, actually, I've got tons of games. I want to finish some gaming stuff. That would be a great gift. And mostly what I ask for almost always is books. Usually, right now I'm on a UFO kick. Been watching the X-Files, of course, and an old Western kick. I read And I recommend this book to everybody on the planet. I read True Grit about a year or two ago, I don't know, whatever. And it is one of the best novels. It's a great movie. Both movies, the John Wayne and the remake, fantastic movies. I favor the John Wayne when I'm a huge John Wayne fan. But the remake was fantastic. The book, though, blows both movies out of the water. I'm on this kind of Western kick. I think that's my Lonesome Dove. I sent everyone a list. So it's mostly just books. Books. I'm just a huge book fan. And see, you're not just a get me socks guy, are you? Nah. I'm very particular on my socks. They all need to be the exact same type of sock, same color, same everything. I don't want to have to think about it. Socks come out, I just fold and put them in a thing. I don't want a whole bunch of weird shit. As you probably noticed, I've got 2 styles of shirts. This one and my button-up. And half of my button-up are the same color. I'm like Sally from the Peanuts people. And I like a very simple world. My truck still has crank handles on it. I don't even have automatic windows on my truck. It itself is 12 years old. Yeah, it's 12 years old and still driving, so I like things very, very, very simple. Trolls. How's it going, Clever? Chuck just posted. He's still sitting in traffic. That poor bastard. Mapping helps players. Yeah, it does. That was a weird thing. They found a secret door. They just said they picked an area where they thought a secret door was, and sure enough, there was one, and they found it. It was kind of interesting. Dick said he did bring a battle map. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on out there. The first text read, "We are going to postpone the game," and then the second text read, "Never mind." So we'll see how this goes. It's a fun group, I got to say, and I want to say this, and I don't mean this in any way, shape, or form, on our present conditions, but playing an RPG at the table is easily 1,000 times better than playing it online. I mean, there's so much energy, and people are, and maybe it's just these kids, but they're all playing off of each other. They're throwing ideas back and forth, and their personalities are coming out. I don't know, it's just cool. I see exactly. They can see voids where a secret room recorder might be. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I'm just there's just no way I can do it. I would mess the descriptions up 6 ways of something, and then they would mess it up off of that. Hi everyone, so the wife and I watched that Tolkien movie that Chuck mentioned last week. We totally enjoyed it. It says Night 51. I have not seen that yet. I need to. I bet you Kathy would enjoy that. We try to. My wife and I always try to find something to watch that we can enjoy together. And honestly, if you push me into a corner and really want to know what I thoroughly enjoy, it's movies and TV shows like The Punisher and The Walking Dead that have extreme violence in them. And it's kind of a realistic, gritty violence, and she doesn't care for that. she prefers, humor is what she really likes, satire, and she loves like Letterkenny, stuff like that. But yeah, the Punisher pounding someone's head into the ground is not something she enjoys as much. We'll check out that Tolkien movie. You like a cartoon character wearing the same outfit each episode. Yeah, I know. It's just easier, man. I just want life to be easy. I don't need it to be more complex. My wife she got a set of 5 socks the other day, and then she couldn't find the same color because I threw all my old socks, were all falling apart. So she got the same company out of Vermont. They're American-made socks out of Vermont. Whatever. And but she got them a slightly different color, and I won't wear them. They're just sitting in my drawer because they'll just confuse my tiny brain. Steven, that made me think of a question. Apologies if it's been covered in GM Tricks of the Trade already. What's your advice for running a game with very little prep time? Yeah, it's off the cuff. I know we've definitely talked about that in GM Tricks of the Trade. What I try to do, if I've got no prep, is immediately throw everything across the table to get them role playing, whether it's character descriptions or character interactions. That you're sitting at the bar, you've heard this rumor of X, blah, blah, blah. Role play this out. I try to get the players to take some of the pressure off of me. That way I got a few extra minutes to put something together. And if that's not, and what I'm usually putting together is some type of combat, because the combat is going to allow you to do, 20 minutes, maybe 30. I don't know how long your combats run. of just action-oriented crap that's going on. And then after that, you got treasure. So you can easily kind of take your no-prep game in the first hour, fill with a little bit of role-playing, combat, and treasure, and that gives you an hour to kind of group together and come up with an adventure or flesh out what you wanted to do. Or what I frequently do is feed off of things they say. So say in the treasure hoard there's a packet of letters. I always love putting a packet of letters, a scroll or something, a book of history, poetry, whatever. And then so they don't pay any attention to it at first as they're divvying up the gold and the magic and whatever. But when they get back to that packet of letters, then I've got feed for an adventure if I want to. This is a packet of letters that was clearly written. They are love letters from a countess living in, you name, whatever, to a knight. It might behoove the countess to have her love letters back. Something like that. Suddenly they got a little adventure. They can cross the country, go to this countess and return these love letters to her surreptitiously or, what have you. So usually if I have no prep, throw it across the screens, make them role play a little bit to give yourself a breathing room, hammer them with something and give them some weird ass treasure, and then you can concoct a game out of that relatively quickly. I'm like a cartoon character. That's fantastic. How's it going, Torin? Thanks for joining us. I can't wait for face-to-face gaming to return. Online is at least keeping me sane. Yeah, it's good. I mean, we're doing it. I do an online game, but it's not the same. It's that energy, that crazy energy. Steve, do you have the Dr. Pepper King of Beverages book? I saw it the other day online. No, I did not. I'll have to track that down. I have not seen that blood one. I've got a lot of Dr. Pepper. Got a refrigerator from there filled with it, and a refrigerator behind me filled with it. So I've got a ton of Dr. Pepper, but no books. I'll track that down. This is action for guys, World War I, and drama for girls. A good mix, plus the linguistic stuff as well. Now that's the part I love. I love the idea behind world creation, especially when it comes to languages. And I think Tolkien, of course, is the master at that. Very few other people who create worlds actually get into the language first, and Tolkien did. I mean, the whole thing is kind of built around that. I'll definitely check that out. We actually, my wife and I, she has acquiesced to watch Fat Man, which is the new Mel Gibson movie where he's playing Santa Claus. If you haven't seen the trailer for it, go check it out. I'll pick them up next time I'm down. I love those socks. You can have them too. So I've been thinking of some business opportunities around my new area. One idea I had was a gaming store. Has TLG's sales to flags been pretty stable, or has it dropped since COVID? That's a mixed question because TLG has seen a very tiny retraction overall in the big picture of things. Not big enough to slow us down at all, and in fact, we alleviated most of our debt previous to this year, so we actually have more cash, but a slight retraction in sales. However, that retraction didn't happen in distribution. The distribution I've seen grown just marginally, not a whole lot. I honestly think the retraction is we did one less Kickstarter this year than we did previous year, so that's where most of that comes from, which isn't really a retraction, but you know what I mean. But big picture for the stores, I think it's very difficult to survive. Just a couple of years ago, and in today's environment, it's even more difficult. That said, I know that it can be done. Our local store, Game Goblin, combines a nice mix of games with people coming in to play, tournaments, all kinds of stuff. I know it's attached to the Magic tournaments and stuff like that. But we've not seen, because of COVID and this year, we've not seen any retraction in sales. I know that some RPGs are doing well in stores, but overall, TLG's footprint in stores has declined over the years, percentage-wise. Now, overall, we're 4 times bigger than we were just a few years ago. So, though we've seen a decline, the percentage is still up. If that makes sense, the percentage of sales into the retail market is still up. I think that if you're very savvy and very frugal and very careful and very gregarious, welcoming. And that's one of the things that I think helps make an RPG store work very well, is when people come in, they feel they're at home. I think you got a chance. And Epi, if you start a store, you give us a shout. We'll help you in any way, shape, or form that we can. I think that type of stuff is wonderful. I think that people who push out and try to start their own businesses. It's a hard thing to do, so I applaud you. I absolutely applaud you, but definitely reach out. Do not leave us out of the loop. We will help you as much as we humanly can. I see online gaming is killing me. Subtlety is gone, and I feel no matter how hard, I lose a character to other devices more often than when faced. Absolutely. And it's worse than that, Omut. I think it's, I'm not, whatever. People have kids, and they're at home. They got to get up and go take care of their kids. They want to go make a margarita. They got to get the roast out of the oven. You know what? The 10 million distractions that happen when you're at home are just all now. They're right there. And then there's the cutting out. If one person is speaking, the other person gets cut out, so you can't quite interact. I mean, as our brains are far more capable of hearing more than one person talk simultaneously. So two people talking simultaneously is perfectly okay. In a table in a bar, you can be listening to, your buddy there at the table and hearing someone over at the bar talk. It's perfectly possible to do that. But online, it's difficult because frequently the mics get cut out by the other users, and then whoever's loudest, their mic cuts out the other's mics, and then there's freezes, constantly freezing, and then people's equipment doesn't work, and there's so many distractions that it's really tough, and it's exhausting. It's just exhausting. But here we are. Nothing we can do about it. Hopefully there's no PHBs and CKGs provide a nice bump. I think they will, and Gaxmore 2 when it rolls out. I'm actually looking forward to 2021 as a really strong year for us. I think the revamped Player's Handbook. Omut, we listen to you actually a lot, and a lot of the other people over on the Kickstarter. I like what you said. So Peter and I are already kind of redesigning the way the Player's Handbook looks and the interior of it, trying to make it a little bit more appealing and a little bit more useful, both to veterans and new people without losing the content that we have. That's one of my things. I don't want to lose what we've got. I want to make what we have better. And I got to say that the covers for the Player's Handbook and the cover for the CKG, I am stupefied at how wonderful those books have turned out. I mean, it is. I'm floored. So I think they'll have great shelf presentation, and it's art that has a broader appeal. So I don't know. I'm super jazzed. And the interior art I think is going to look good too. So we'll see. Next year will be a good year, and it's going to kick off with a bang because we're doing in March. Yeah, March I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's March. We will launch. So in January we'll do the pre-page, but in March we're going to launch our Robert E. Howard art books. It'll be a 4-volume set of all the collected art from the Robert E. Howard universe, Conan Cole, all of that stuff. And that's just, I'm so looking forward to that. That's going to be fantastic. And then we're going to dive into the planes. We're going to shift. We've got a mountain of 5th edition out. We'll continue to support 5th edition, but we're going to shift it back to a Castles and Crusades with the release of the Player's Handbook, the Castle Keeper's Guide, the NPC Almanac, and then we're going to dive right into the Planescapes, which is going to allow us to dovetail and dive into Amazing Adventures. I'm going to talk to Mike Stewart over there about revamping Victorious, Tainted Land, Star Siege. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about what's coming up. And then we got other things in the fire that we're working on, from Fantasy Grounds overhaul to a greater presence on Roll20 to a few other things that we're studying. I'm revamping. I'm looking at again. What's that word? Some of our digital properties, like the little movies that we shot a couple of years ago. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about. I'm pretty excited about coming year. Very much so. Let's see. Was the Castle Keeper's Guide in the last Kickstarter too? As a stretch reward. I think it was a stretch reward. No. The other thing, not a stretch reward. An add-on. It was on as an add-on. Yes. I really love your non-RPG books too. They are so well put together. More. Thanks. I've already finished the next 3 short stories in the journey of Uric and Ava, and I've got the 4th kind of mostly done. And then I got a novella that I'm going to be working on hopefully next year as well. So that's for me, as my writing will shift now to fiction. I think I'll be working on the Planescape some, but only the main book, and the other stuff will be farmed out, and then the rest will be fiction for me. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to sell so many PHBs and CKGs with those new little layout improvements, art tab, colors, appendages, etc. Can't wait. Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about it. I feel like, I've been looking at a lot of RPGs lately, trying to figure out a way to take this form that we have and make it even better. At the end of the day, it's a book, so we're kind of restricted there, but there's things we can do. And the tabs, I'm super. That was I don't know. One of you guys here mentioned that. It was a brilliant idea. I talked to Peter about it. And he said, "Yeah, we can do that. It takes no time at all." So I'm super excited about the tabs. Just all kinds of stuff. Let's see. So it's face-to-face. It's face-to-face versus online, the new version of the D&D edition, which there are advantages and disadvantages for both. Face-to-face has the visuals, online has an almost pool of players. Pick from World War just as a quick, oh yeah, no, you're right there. And then it's easier, right? You can schedule it almost at any time. If there was just a way to do it, I don't know, a little bit more interactively, maybe VR, I don't know. A VR tabletop. That's what TLG needs to do, a VR tabletop. You may be right. But now I'm gonna go on the record here, and I may be wrong, I frequently am, but I think now online gaming for tabletop role-playing games is going to be an ever-growing part of our reality as people just get accustomed to it, especially older people with kids. And it's tough when your kids are little to get out, or if you got a job, you have to travel a lot for your job. You got to give a conference, wherever, here. It's tough to get. You miss a lot of games, so the online gaming becomes a perfect, supplement to that. A perfect way you can go back to your hotel room, you can turn on the computer, and you can start playing. So I don't think it's going anywhere soon, especially with companies like Shard and Fantasy Grounds, refining their tools, making it even better, making it even more friendly. It's never going anywhere. Can I add when the Pledge Manager? Yes, absolutely, Matt. We'll do that probably early next year. Pledge Manager will roll out. I think the art's done. I need to do an assessment. I got to get back into CKG, but I think the art's done for the Player's Handbook. I think. Hell yeah, Omoot. Bring it on! Steve, that reminds me to run something by CKG. All right, Babunski, just hit me up whenever. CNC Virtual, hell yes. And I think that will in turn make the cons that much more popular when we can go in person again. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I guess they're going to just wait for a vaccine to hit, which I guess we've got one now. Thank goodness. Pfizer and Moderna and someone else I think's got some, so we'll see how this plays out. VTT has been around and popular for years now, Steve. You just never noticed in your circle. Yeah. That's that's true. That's true. Yeah. I don't know. I'm so funny with the way I do. I like the idea of technology. I like the idea of technology for other people. It's wonderful in medicine. You read about how surgeons can do surgery on a combat. Wounded, someone wounded in combat in Iraq. They can do it from, Maryland or wherever. And that stuff's just badass. I mean, come on, that's just really cool. Blood coagulants, all kinds of stuff that they're doing in medicine now. But and not even just medicine, and everything that we're doing, from phones to whatever. But I don't like it for me. I just want a horse. My favorite weapon is actually my Colt 45. So that's a single action, a double action revolver. But there you go. I see the Discord servers are growing by the day with new people, and that's good. I think I love Discord. I love I haven't gotten in the habit of using it. I'm slowly trying to teach myself because it's obviously, each company can kind of have its own voice, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think some of the other platforms, it gets a little bit tangled, what you can say and use and do, and how you can present it, and all kinds of stuff, and that's okay. That's whatever. It's their platforms. But Discord seems to offer that a far more, each company, whether it's Frog God Games or Goodman Games or Wizards of the Coast or GM or whoever, they can take these things and kind of make it their own, which is, I think, far better in the big picture. That's why Minecraft is so crazy popular. You can go into Minecraft and make it your own. right? You don't have to play in someone else's world. You take any of these video games, GTA is wildly popular, did really great, but it's dwarfed by Minecraft, because you can go to Minecraft, make your own village, make your own mountains, do whatever you want. It's a wonderful thing. Steve tends to drop into Discord, leave a quick message about whatever it is on his mind. I know, I can't. It's funny, I'll go in there, I'll make a comment, and I forget to go back. Like 3 days later, I'm like, damn it. And I don't know why. I need to get it on my radar. The only thing that's on my radar is Pinterest, and I go to Pinterest to look for inspirational pictures for stuff I'm writing or for games I'm writing, which becomes stuff that I'm writing. Yeah, I'm horrible. And I've almost quit. I quit using Twitter entirely. I can't remember the last time I posted on Twitter. I think it was May. I know Chuck and Tim get into my Twitter account occasionally and we'll post something about a Kickstarter, but Twitter's just, and Facebook's becoming, I don't even think about it. And part of it is there's so much work to be done with TLG that I still don't have time. I mean, I'm not trying to say we're huge or anything, but it's just a lot of work. There's a lot of Kickstarters, and they've got a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of stuff that we want to do, and a lot of conversations that have to be had, and everybody needs. And like now that Chuck is working on all of the fantasy grounds and shard stuff, he needs a constant flow of content from the TLG archives, and that's me. I mean, I got that on this computer here, and then in the safe, and get on a backup drive. So that stuff, old stuff, is only me. Is Twitter still around? Yeah, I guess. I don't use it. It's one of those things I think the idea of it was cool, I guess, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You say something and it's gone in seconds, and no one, you might get a few replies to it or a few whatevers. And Facebook is good, but it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. And it became so contentious that the people at Facebook, I guess, have to control everything. Davis has been kicked off Facebook like 8 times at this point. I don't know. Tullis was put in the hot box the other day, so it's just one of those things. I don't know. And Gen Con said, sent out a message today saying they are suspending in-person registration right now. There you go. So they're going to be down. So that's August. Well, they're talking about having the vaccine out by March through May. I don't know. Who knows? I was thinking the same thing about Facebook. Yeah. They really are. And if you talk to people younger than myself, younger than 30, none of them, they might use Facebook once in a while. No one on my Tuesday night game is using Facebook at all. Wilson has an account because he needed it for one of his Steam games. I think he needed it for something. I don't know. But yeah, I think Facebook will. It's just going to be one of those things. I still prefer forums myself, but Discord seems pretty decent for communication. Been on it just over a year now. Yeah, the forums. I couldn't get into the forums much, and I don't know why, because they're very. It's very controllable. You know what I mean? The conversation. And I don't mean as in controllable as in stop people from saying something, but as in you can go back and read what people said. And that may be why. Serious discussions on the forums became just constant. It became difficult to read because people are quoting this, and you got a quote within a quote and a quote within a quote. And if I've got to search much for a conversation, I'm not going to participate. I'm just going to quit. It's just too much work. Did Davis make a lot of political posts on Twitter? That is generally what gets people banned nowadays. It wasn't on Twitter. It was on Facebook. He made a comment about the Chinese takeover of Hong Kong, and he got it like a 7-day hot box. And then he made another comment, and he got, I don't know. It's mostly about China. Davis follows. He goes to Thailand. He did pre-COVID go to Thailand quite a bit, and in consequence, he would travel to Hong Kong, Taiwan, Vietnam. He loves Southeast Asia. He absolutely loves it down there. He loves the food, the people, the culture. Yeah, it's just his cup of tea, and which is cool. And I've never actually seen Davis this happy as when he's in Thailand. His girlfriend's over there. It's all great. Pre-COVID, of course. But he's a pretty virulent critic of China. I am too. I keep it quiet. He does not. I think he does now, but because his platform was taken away from him. I think now he just posts in the Castles and Crusades area. But yeah, so he He got kicked off for criticizing the Chinese government. Our news said end of summer before it is available to everyone. Okay, so probably late fall will be the earliest chance to everyone get it. Okay, there you go. That makes sense. It is a lot. I mean, there's 300 million of us idiots running around in the United States alone. I think Europe's got about 360 million. Is that right? Western Europe, Canada, 40 million. I'm not sure how many Canadians are. So it's a lot of folks wandering around. Firms are good if they're active. Yeah, I think ours are still there. I don't ever go to them. Once in a blue moon, I go check something out, but not so sure. Now Davis just sends his brother grumbling. Yeah. Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Davis is my brother, and he co-founded Troller Games, and now he's one of our main writers, if not our main writer. He's fantastically creative. He's a good RPG designer, but he's just through the roof creative. And but Davis and I shared a room from weird, itty bitty creatures, knee high to a jumping frog, as they say, up until we scattered from home. And we've hung out ever since. We've never not. I remember when he was my favorite Davis Steve story. When we were living in Fayetteville, he was dating a vegan. Holly was her name. She was a fantastic person. She was just lovely. We could have political arguments, and it never got ugly. It was just very nice. She was just a great person. But he stopped eating meat when he was dating her, sort of. What he would do, because I'm a big meat eater, I have meat at every meal. It's usually beef, once in a blue moon chicken. There's some kind of dead cow on my plate every meal. One day he was come over to the house, because he was living in one part of Fayetteville and I was in the other part of Fayetteville. He'd come over to the house twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. And he'd literally just knock on the door, or maybe not, walk in, go to the kitchen. He might say a couple of words, and he would immediately eat whatever I had in the refrigerator, roast beef and old steak, and then he would leave. It was absolutely hilarious. And good stuff, just good stuff. So basically, Davis was banned because of politics, not just America. Oh yeah, no, it was a bigger picture of politics. Now, but yeah, great babe. When he texts me now, I'll say, "Hey Davis, where are we on NPC Almanac?" I'll first get this long thing of political stuff that he's picked up from Chinese bloggers that he's following. So it's all fun. It's all fun. Yeah, how's it going, Bifford? Good deal on the session. Fantastic. What's TLG 2022 looking like? Any plans germinating? Well, I got to see how the Planescapes stuff shakes out. What I'd like to do, ideally, we would get through the Planescapes in 2021, and get Tainted Lands and what's the other one? Star Siege redone and out there in this kind of good, nice format. Amazing Adventures needs a redo, and that'll be attached to the Terraforming Venus project. So I'm hoping that's 2021. And in 2022, so a lot of that's Jason Vey and Davis and other writers. Now I'll be involved mainly with the Planescapes books, but and depending on the Aired thing is a wild card because it looks like we're running on an Aired. So Aired may crop the third printing of the Codex of Aired may crop up, and it needs something fiercely. It needs a much tighter edit and a gigantic index. It needs a 20-page index in that book, but especially a bookmarked one for the internet. But for 2022. Looking forward, I'm hoping to get these short stories done, this novella done in 2021, so that in 2022, for myself, I can shift full bore onto Air. I've got the cover for the Gods and Monsters of Air. It hangs on my wall. It's another Doug Kovacs piece. It's this. That is the cover for the Gods and Monsters of Air, and that will become my primary focus. That dovetails nicely, of course, with all the Planescapes and the Codex of Air, the Monsters and Treasures of Air, and all of that. So that is on my mind long term. I really want, and Tim's been pushing this hard for a long time. I want us to shift. Castles Crusades is a gigantic game. It's got a gigantic amount of support. I want us to shift into Aired something ferociously, and that will dovetail that with all kinds of stuff. So that is the plan at the moment. What did Gary used to say? He used to put in his emails, "The good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise." You know how that is. Yes, Tim has really been pushing Aired something fierce. The World Anvil stuff is up, and we're feeding stuff into that all the time. So it's good stuff. Started gaming 3 hours ago. I think perhaps better to schedule it. Needed these. Yeah, because I drone on. Speaking of droning on, it is time to shut this session down. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I absolutely love this session here. The GMTT has got a little bit more to it, but I like this round robin. It allows me to really, focus what we're doing around here. It's kind of like a nice reset at the beginning of the week to get, to feed whatever it is that we do here at Troller Games. And so I appreciate everybody for showing up. Love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you all. M5, me too. I love Game World books. I just pour over them all the time. Thanks, Omu. Thanks for all the questions. Chad Skiles, everybody. You guys have a great rest of your week. And for those of you back to Gigsmart. For those of you back Gagsmore, start looking for it in the mail, but there's some delays, so look for that. All right, everybody. Y'all have a great evening. We will see you tomorrow. There's a schedule posted somewhere. There's a game running. DM's game is tomorrow. DM Samuel's game is tomorrow. My GMTT is on Thursday, and Haunted Holler on Friday. So, Gagsmart, yeah, there you go. All right, everybody. Take care. Y'all have a good evening.